Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to our Shirin Svasamas Parshas Va'era Tavshin Peivav. We find the Psukim in our Parsha go ahead and famously describe the Dalad Lashonos of Geulah, V'tseisi, V'tzalti, V'ga'alti, and finally the fourth Lashon of V'lakachti, representing the four stages of Klal Yisrael, going from Golus to Geulah, going from being slaves in Mitzrayim to being taken out, to being saved, to being redeemed, and ultimately V'lakachti Lila Am, Klal Yisrael standing by Matan Torah, becoming the Am HaNivchar. And these represent the various stages of V'tseisi, V'tzalti, V'ga'alti, and finally getting to the purpose of the Geulah, getting to the purpose of us leaving Mitzrayim, which was that to go ahead and to serve the Rabbanu Shalom through Kabbalah Satira that takes place by Matan Torah, Lakachti Lila Am. Yet the Svasemis in the year Taf Reish Mem Gimel says a fascinating thing. The Svasemis says that the Dalad, the Lashonos of Geulah, do not only represent the Golus and Geulah that Klal Yisrael went through in Mitzrayim itself, but rather, as the Svasemis often says, the Golus of Mitzrayim is a prototype for all other Golusin and all other Geulas that are going to take place. And therefore, the four Lashonos of Geulah that Klal Yisrael experienced in Mitzrayim, says the Svasemis, represent the four states of Golus and Geulah that Klal Yisrael is going to go through. Golus of Bavel, Golus of Madai, Golus of Yavan, and ultimately, the final Golus that we're in now, Golus of Edom. And each one of these Lashonos of Geulah represent another state of Klal Yisrael being in another place of Golus, where Klal Yisrael was stuck in Bavel and Madai or Yavan, or Edom, the Golus of Edom, and ultimately getting saved with one of these Lashonos of Geulah. The Dalad Lashonos of Geulah is the Sheirish for all the Dalad Golias, for the four Golias that we're going to go through. As the pasuk says, "Ba'arba ruchos, ka'arba ruchos parashti eschem." The Baruch Hashem scattered us in four ruchos, representing the four Golisim that Klal Yisrael is going to go through, and ultimately the Geulah is kabetz nidachenu me arba kanfos aretz, being drawn back in from the Golis of Bavel, Madai, Yavan, Edom, and finally being drawn back into the Beis Hamikdash Shlishi. We're able to have a Lakachti Lila Am. And each one of these Lashonos of Geulah represent another one of the Golisim of V'tseisi, V'tzalti, V'ga'alti is Bavel, Madai, and Yavan, and finally V'lakachti is Golus Edom, the Golus that we're in right now, and ultimately the fourth stage, the final stage, the stage that we're davening for every day, is the stage of V'lakachti Lila Am. Yet the Heligas Svasemis points out a fascinating thing. If you look at the first three Lashonos, which represent the first three Golisim that Klal Yisrael went through, you find that each one of these Lashonos of Geulah represent Klal Yisrael being saved and being taken out of the Golus that we're in. V'haitzesi, v'etzalti, v'ga'alti. We were taken out, we were redeemed, we were saved from the Golus that we're in. And the Rabbi Shem went ahead and the Rabbi Shem took us out of Golus Bavel, Golus Madai, Golus Yavan. He went ahead, v'etzesi, v'etzalti, v'ga'alti. Yet when it comes to our Golus, the Golus of Edom, which is the most bitter and the longest Golus that we've been through, and is the most bitter in terms of Ruchnias and Gashmias, the Lashon is not that the Rabbi Shem is taking us out of Golus Edom. Rather, the Lashon of Geulah, which represents the fourth Golus, which represent the Golus that we're in now, and the Geulah of Mashiach, says this Svasemis, is one word. V'lakachti, not going ahead and taking us out, rather bringing us, drawing us close for Lakachti Lila Am. Ask this Svasemis why? Why do we not need to be saved from Golus Edom the same way we're saved from Golus Bavel, Madai, and Yavan? Why is there no Lashon which is similar to the first three Lashonos of Geulah, V'tseisi, V'tzalti, V'ga'alti? Why is the Lashon when it comes to Golus Edom just V'lakachti? V'lakachti Lila Am. We're going to be taken to the Rabban Shem. What about going ahead and getting out of the Golus that we're in? What about being saved and redeemed from the Golus, the bitter Golus that we're in? Why is the Lashon when it comes to Golus Edom, the Golus that we're in now, why does it change from being a Lashon of taking us out to just a Lashon of Lakachti Lila Am? Says this Vasemes, a beautiful, beautiful concept. Says this Vasemes, we know, Chazal tell us, that the reason why the first Beis Hamikdash was destroyed was because Klal Yisrael was over on the Gimel Chamuris, Avodah Zarah, Geulah Arayas, and Shvichas Damim. The second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed because of Sinas Chinam. Says this Vasemes, and the Maral says the same thing in Or Chadash. If a person goes ahead and a person looks closely at the three Golisim that Klal Yisrael went through, Golus Bavel, Golus Madai, and Golus Yavan, you'll find that each one of them represent another one of the Gimel Chamurais that Klal Yisrael was over that caused the first Beis Hamikdash to be destroyed. Golus Bavel, says this Vasemes, is the Golus where Nebuchadnezzar went ahead and made Klal Yisrael be Meshtacheva down to an Avodah Zarah, Meshtacheva to an Atzelim. Because Klal Yisrael had been over Avodah Zarah, which caused Klal Yisrael to lose the first Beis Hamikdash, that caused Klal Yisrael to go into Golus and to have to battle the Hishtacheva to Avodah Zarah, have to battle that klipa of Avodah Zarah as a direct einish, a direct result of the fact that Klal Yisrael was involved in going ahead and being connected to Avodah Zarah. And ultimately, the Rebbe Shem takes us out. V'tseisi, the Rebbe Shem takes us out of that klipa, that avera called Avodah Zarah. Then there's Golus Madai. Golus Madai, says this Vas Emes, represents the represents the Avera of Shvichas Damim. We find that by Golas Modei, Haman went ahead and was given the permission by Achashverosh lahashmid laharag lahabed as Kol Yehudi, to destroy, to go ahead and to wipe out every single Yid in Klal Yisrael. Says this Vasamis, why was he given the permission? As a direct result of Midah Keneged Midah for Klal Yisrael being involved in Shvichas Damim. Whatever Klal Yisrael, Einish Klal Yisrael, whatever Avera Klal Yisrael did that represented Shvichas Damim that caused the first base of Mikdash to get destroyed, the Midah Keneged Midah was Golas Modai, where Achashverosh gave permission to Haman to destroy, to wipe out, to obliterate every single Yid in Klal Yisrael Chalila. The Rebbe Hashem takes us out. Veitzesi v'hetzalti. We're saved from the Golas of Vadai. We're saved from Haman's wicked plans, and the Rebbe Hashem saves us from going ahead and being wiped out as a direct midah keneged midah for our shvichas damim. Says this Vasemes. Finally, Golas Yavan was a midah keneged midah for the Geulah rice that Klal Yisrael was involved in that caused the first base of Mikdash to be destroyed. We know Chazal tell us that the Yavanim were geyser, that every besula, before she went ahead and got married, needed to be boil to the Hegman Tchila, needed to go ahead and have bia to the Hegman, to the officer of Yavan. She needed to go ahead and have relations with the Hegman Tchila. Zaktas Vasemes, that was a midah keneged midah for Klal Yisrael being involved in Geulah Arayis. The Rebbe Hashem saved us from that. Also v'ga'alti, v'tzeisi v'tzalti, v'ga'alti is Golas Yavan. The Rebbe Hashem went ahead and redeemed us, and we're saved as well from Golas Yavan. That's the first three Golas that we went through. Says this Fas Emes, that was the reason why the first Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. Geulah Arayis, Shvichas Damim, Avodah Zarah, and each one of those Averis represent another Golas that went through. Bavel is Avodah Zarah, Modeh is Shvichas Damim, Yavan is Geulah Arayis. Each one of them represent another one of the Averis. But says this Fas Emes, we know Chazal tell us the second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed because of Sinas Chinam. And Mela says this Fas Emes, Sinas Chinam is caused because Klal Yisrael is not connected to the Rabban Shalom. We find that the pasuk says, "V'ahavta l'recha kamoicha ani Hashem." What's the connection? Says this Vasemes between Ahavas Yisrael and Ahavas Hashem. Says this Vasemes, Ahavas Yisrael toli bekabolos malchus shemayim karoi. When we go ahead and we're serving the Rabban Shalom in the proper way, that automatically allows us to be able to have proper Ahavas Yisrael. Lias kol ratzon lasis ritzayin avinu shemashamayim, on our sole ratzon. Our only thing that we want to do is to do the ratzon of Hashem. V'as kol echem mavakesh avodas chaverei. Then there's no jealousy, there's no sinner. I'm not jealous of somebody else. I don't hate anybody else. I'm happy with what somebody else is doing because I recognize that all of us are going ahead and working for one purpose, working for one unified goal, to go ahead and to serve the Rabban Shalom. The same way you have 10 people that are working on a business. There's no jealousy, there's no sinner that somebody else is involved in the business. I'm happy because we're all working towards one unified goal of making this business a prosperous business. Says this Vasemes, when Klal Yisrael is involved in Ahavas Hashem, that automatically causes Ahavas Yisrael. Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shemayim causes Ahavas Yisrael. A lack of Ahavas Yisrael, Sinas Chinam, says this Vasemes, comes from Chinam min HaMitzvahs. When Klal Yisrael is apart from the mitzvahs, when Klal Yisrael is not connected to Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shemayim, not connected to the Ahavas Hashem, automatically that creates a sinas chinam, that creates a period, a separation between Klal Yisrael, between the various parts of Klal Yisrael. As this Vasemes brings down the Malachim, we don't find any sin between them, any kin between them. Fakir, the noisne be ahavar shuz zelazel lahaktish liyotzam. Why? Because the Malachim understand that as different as they may be, and as much as each one of them have a role, but they recognize that all of their roles are working towards one unified goal of lahaktish liyotzam, to go ahead and be makadesh the Rabban Shalom. Therefore, says this Vasemes, beautiful. You know what is going to go ahead and save us from the Golas that we're in, which is the Golas that we're in because of Sinas Chinam? It's not being saved. We don't need to go ahead and have it. We need one thing. When Klal Yisrael goes ahead and is connected to the Rabban Hashem in the proper way, when we're able to be Makayim Velakachti Lilam, automatically we're able to fix up the Sinas Chinam, and automatically it's able to have Ahavas Chinam. Automatically we're able to go ahead and be Ahavta L'Recha Kamecha Ani Hashem. Zeh Klal Gadol B'Torah. This is a Klal Gadol B'Torah, because the more I'm a Kabul Omal Chashamayim, the more we're connected to mitzvahs and Torah, the more the Ahavas Yisrael comes as a direct byproduct. Memela says this Vasemes, the first three Lashanis of Golos that Klal Yisrael went through, and the Geulah that took us out of those Golos, which were Averis that were involved in Geulah Arayis, Shvichas Damim, Avodah Zarah. There needed to be a way of the Rabban Shalom, so to speak, saving us, taking us out, redeeming us, getting us away from those Averis. But the Averis that we're in now, the Golos that we're in now, Sinas Chinam, is just simply, we need to go ahead and be Makabel Omar Chashmayim in a greater way. We need to attach attach ourselves to the Rabbanim in a greater way. As soon as it's for Lakachti Lila automatically, as soon as there's a Kabbalah Omal Chashmaim, automatically the sin of Schinim is able to be fixed up and we're able to get out of the Gullus that we're in. And therefore there doesn't need to be a process of the Rabbanim saving us or redeeming us. It's just simply when Klal Yisrael is Makabel Omal Chashmaim, automatically there's no longer sin of Schinim. Automatically it's V'Haftu L'Recha Kamecha Ani Hashem. The Rabbanim should help that we should be zeichet to recognize this is it we need. We don't need the Rabbanim to save us. We just need to be taken to the Rabbanim more. We just need to attach ourselves to Ahavas Hashem more, and then Mamelo will have Ahavas Yisrael. Mamelo will recognize we're all working towards one unified goal, and Amitzvah Hashem through that will be zeichet to L'Kachti Lila where the fourth lashon of the Geulah will finally go ahead and be expressed through the Binyan Beis Hamikdash Shlishi, and Amitzvah Hashem will be zeichet to the Geulah Hashlema. Have a great job.